Good morning. Let's begin our session. So, in the previous session, like we were discussing about how to customize our own Docker images. This is the one we were discussing in the previous session. So, let's understand how we are going to customize our own Docker images. So, customizing Docker images can be done in two ways. We can create our own customized Docker images. Customized Docker image means, so it is nothing but like creating our own images. How can we create our own images? So we can create our own images by using two ways. Like in two ways we can do it. So one is by using Docker commit command. The other one is by writing a Docker file. So anyhow, we understood how we are going to do it by using how we can do it by using Docker commit command in the previous session. We can go to the previous session. We can, if you have any doubts, you can go to the previous session and understand like how can we do it by using Docker commit command. How we are going to create our own Docker images by using Docker commit command. So this is how we are doing by using Docker commit command. First, we will try to connect to the container. If I have an image running, consider if I have an Ubuntu image and I'm going to run that Ubuntu image as a container and I will be interacting with the container. I'll be connecting to the container. So once I connect to the container, within the container, okay, inside the container, I will run all these commands. So this is the one which is used for creating a container, okay, with the help of Ubuntu image, creating a container. -IT stands for interactive terminal. We will interact to the container, we'll connect to the container, and within the container, I will be updating the apt repository, and we'll also be installing the Git package. We'll also install Git package. These are the commands we use for updating the apt repository. This is the command we use for updating the apt repository. And this is the command we use for installing Git package. Finally, we can check the version. Okay, after running all these commands, we can check the version, all these things. But after running all these commands, if we want to save the container as an image, this is the command we are running. Docker commit is the command we are using for saving this container. What is the name of the container? C11. Consider for C11 is the container. So the container will be saved with the image called my Ubuntu. You can provide the container name as anything, but whatever the container name you are providing here, the same container name you should use, and you should use your own customized image name. You can provide your image name, whatever the image name you want to provide, you can provide here, so that your image will be created with this name. This is the new image name. Okay, your image will be created with this name. And if you want to see the list of images, you can run Docker images command so that you can see the image that you have created. Docker images will give you the list of images so that you can see the image that you have created. My Ubuntu is the image we are creating. And again, if you want to connect to this, if you want to run a container with the help of your image, this is your image. My Ubuntu is your image. And if you want to create a container, yes, again the same command, Docker run, the image name, your image name, and you need to provide some name to the container. It is not mandatory, but it is a good practice to provide some name to the container. So here we are providing C22 something. It is just for see, it is not mandatory like you have to provide the container name as C1, C11, C22 like that. You can provide some name. Okay, you can provide the container name as something like container 1, container 2, or otherwise my Ubuntu 1. You need to provide some different name. Okay, the image name and container name should be different. Okay, to make the difference. So here we are providing the container name. You can provide anything as a container name, not mandatory to provide uh, in this approach. Okay, C11, C22, C12 like that. You can provide anything as a container name. -IT, to interact with the terminal, to interact with the container. Okay, once you got connected to the container, you can just run some commands like git version, whatever the packages you have installed here. So in this example, We have installed only one package, right? So you can check git hyphen version so that whether git is installed or not, we can understand. So to see, to verify whether git is installed or not, you can run a command called git space hyphen version. Fine. This is the way of doing it by using docker commit command. We understood this in the previous session. Now we are going to understand how we are going to create our own customized images by writing a Docker file. How can we do it? How we are going to create a customized Docker images by writing a Docker file. What is Docker file? Very important to understand. What is Docker file? Docker file is a simple text file. You can open a notepad or you can open a text file. So you can write the content. What is the content inside the Docker file? So with the help of some predefined keywords, we will use some predefined keywords for writing Docker file. Why we are writing Docker file? Try to understand what is the purpose of writing Docker file? To create our customized Docker images. So now we are discussing about a Docker file. Okay, what is the necessity of writing Docker file? We are writing Docker file for creating customized Docker images. We would like to create some customized Docker images. That's the reason why we are creating a Docker file. Once after writing the Docker file, we will build the Docker file so that we will get the Docker image. Try to understand. What we are doing, we are writing a Docker file. After that, we are going to build an image. We are going to build an image from the Docker file. What is the command we are using? Docker build command. Docker build -t. We need to use -t, which is for providing some name. Okay, providing some name to the image. So my Nginx image with this name, the image will be created. So dot represents the Docker file is available in the current location. If I'm giving dot, it means my Docker file is available in the same location. That's the reason why. So I'm going to build the Docker file so that the image will be created. Hope you understood why we are writing a Docker file. Docker file is a simple text file. And we are going to write it by using some predefined keywords. We'll see the examples. But we need to understand what is the necessity of writing Docker file. Docker file is mainly for creating our own Docker images. Docker file is mainly for creating our own Docker images. Let's see a small example to understand. Let's see a small example to understand how to write a small Docker file. Okay. So to see the examples, okay, to see the example, like we need to have a Docker machine, meaning Docker machine in the sense in any Linux server, Docker should be installed. Okay. Here I have taken one Linux machine. So here in this machine, maybe like Docker is not present. So we know how to install Docker and all, right? So we will go ahead and install Docker here. The very first command we are using is sudo su hyphen, and I'm just running a command called sudo yum install docker -y. This is the command I'm running. Sudo yum install docker -y. And again, I'm going to run a command called sudo systemctl. Sudo systemctl start docker. So to start the Docker service, we use this command. Okay. So fine. To verify the Docker version, we can run a command called docker space -" version. I can able to see the Docker version here. Docker 25.0 something. Okay. Docker version I am able to see. Now, what I am going to show you is how to write a sample Docker file. Okay. Let's consider. First of all, we need to always we need to save the Docker file with the name called Docker file only. Okay, we need to save the Docker file with a name called Docker file only. What I'm doing is after connecting here, I am just using a command called vi space Docker file. With the help of vi editor, I'm going to create some empty file. Okay, the name of the Docker file is Docker file only. I'm giving the name of the Docker file as Docker file only. I'm opening it. Insert button. Inside the Docker file, I'm just adding 2 lines only. I am adding only 2 lines. Try to understand. I am just adding 2 lines, not much. Only 2 lines. Okay. One is the first line is from Nginx. The second line is maintainer, and my name. Okay. Now you can see here, from is the keyword here. This is one Docker file. This is a sample Docker file. From is the keyword and maintainer is also a keyword. So always when we write a Docker file, we use some predefined keywords. And each and every predefined keyword will have a specific purpose. What is the purpose of from keyword? From is used to specify the base image. You can see here. From is a keyword which is used to specify the base image. Why we are using from keyword? From is used to specify the base image. So definitely without this base image, we cannot create a Docker image. Okay. Without the base image, we cannot create our own customized image. Definitely we should have some base image. You should say what is the base image. So here the base image name is Nginx. Okay. From and the name of the base image is Nginx. Why we use from keyword? From is used to specify the base image. The name of the base image is Nginx. So if I am specifying from space Nginx, from where the Nginx images will get pulled, the Nginx image will be pulling from the public registry. The base image called Nginx will be pulled from public registry. Or otherwise, if we are doing it organization level, so we used to keep all our base images at our private registry. Usually, this is in this example. Now the Nginx image will be pulled from public registry, but at the organization level, if we are doing any project, the base images, all the base images, we will be keeping at one private registry. All the base images we will be keeping at one private registry. So that time it will connect to the private registry and we will be downloading the base image from the private registry. All the base images, everything will be pulled from the private only. Nothing we will do from public if we are doing anything inside the organization. Okay. So for example, just we are learning. That's the reason why we are making it very clear. We are not mentioning any private registry here. If I'm just specifying from space base image, from base image, from is used to specify the base image. If I am specifying the base image here, this base image will be pulled from the public registry. Okay. And at the organization level, usually it will be maintained, all the base images also will be maintained in the private registries. Okay. Now the next keyword we are using is maintainer. Maintainer keyword is mainly to represent the name of the author or the name of the organization. It is up to you. Either you can keep the name of the author or name of the organization who is maintaining that Docker file. So these are the two lines I am writing. After writing these two lines, I would like to run this Docker file. How we are going to create a Docker image? We are going to create a Docker image by just running this command, Docker build command. First, we need to save the file. After saving the file, we need to run this command, Docker build. We need to provide some name to the image, to the upcoming, to the image that we are going to get. Okay. Let me show you. I am just saving it. Okay. Escape, shift colon, sorry. Escape, shift colon, WQ. We are saving it. And now I am going to, once after saving the Docker file, okay, you need to write the Docker file like this. Okay. VI space Docker file. So that you can write the Docker file. And if you want to build the Docker file, how we are going to build the Docker file is Docker build space Docker build -t. We need to provide some name, right? We need to provide some name. So the name I'm going to provide is, so I have taken the base image as Nginx, you see. I have taken the base image as Nginx. Now I'm going to create my own image called my Nginx, okay? I'm going to create my own image called my Nginx. That's the reason why I'm providing the name of the image as my Nginx. At the end, you need to keep dot symbol. Docker build -t. See, Docker build -t. My Nginx is the image name I have provided. This is the name of the image that we are going to get. -t stands for tag. We need to provide some tag, some name to the upcoming image. We are going to get some image, right? For that image, I am providing some name. Otherwise, Docker build is enough. With the help of Docker build command, we are going to build the Docker file. Once we build the Docker file, what is the output we will get? We will get an output called image, Docker image. Okay. So we are just giving here the dot represents the current location. Anywhere in Linux, the dot represents the current location. Here the meaning of providing dot symbol is my Docker file is available to say my Docker file is here in the current location itself. To say my Docker file is available in the Docker in the same location itself. If my Docker file is not available in the same location, we need to specify the path. So here it is in the same location. That's the reason why I'm just giving dot symbol. If the Docker file is not available in this location, we need to provide the same. We need to provide the path. Okay. Suppose if it is somewhere in Docker folder, okay, we need to provide the full path of that Docker file. Okay, we need to provide the full path of that one. So fine. For now, we'll understand. I'm just giving my nginx space dot. So this is the command we use for building the Docker file. You can see the process of building a Docker image. So we are just running a Docker build command. What is the use of Docker build command? Docker build, the command is used to build the Docker image from the Docker file. We are going to build the Docker file and we will get the Docker image. We are writing Docker file and we are running Docker build command so that we will be getting a Docker image. How to see? It is done. Okay, it's done. Image creation is done. I'm just running a command called Docker images. Can you see? My nginx is the image that is created just now. This is my image just now I have provided. Okay, let me go through some other examples so that you will understand better. Now, what I'm going to do is, I would like to, okay, I would like to add, okay, yes. I'm going to add these 3 lines inside the Docker file. Okay, we understood like what is the purpose of from keyword. From is used to specify the base image. Here in this example, CentOS is the base image. From is the keyword. CentOS is the base image. So from is mainly used to specify the base image. Maintainer is used to provide the name of the author or the name of the organization. And we have a keyword called CMD. Let's understand what is the meaning of CMD keyword. You know what is CMD here? CMD used to specify the initial command that should be executed. What does CMD says? If I'm using CMD keyword in the Docker file, it is saying like the initial command that should be executed when the container starts. Once the container is started, that CMD keyword will not be executed during the image creation process. The CMD keyword will be executed. It says that if we want something to be executed once the container is started, you see, if you want something to be executed once the container is started, that time, if you want to print something, then the CMD keyword will be useful. Okay, we'll take an example and see to understand. Maybe the theory will not be helpful. Okay, we may not understand exactly from the theory part, but let's understand. So CMD is used to specify the initial command that should be executed when the container starts. For example, I want, let's see this example. I'm going to give these 3 lines. Okay, I'm going to edit and I'm going to give these 3 lines. The same Docker file. Where is the Docker file? I'm just modifying the existing Docker file only. I'm not going to create a new Docker file. Instead, I'm going to remove all these things. I'm going to keep these 3 lines here. Try to understand. From is the keyword used to specify the base image. Maintainer is the one maintainer is also a keyword which is used to specify the name of the organization or name of the author. CMD is the keyword which is used to print something. Okay, if you want to execute something once the container is started. So this date command, what I'm doing is CMD, and here I'm providing the date command. So this date command will be executed after the container is started. Once we connect to the container, okay, let's see this one. Once the container is started, then only the date command will be printed. Escape :WQ. And I'm going to build the Docker file. Here, if you want to build the Docker file, what is the command you use? Docker build -t. So here I'm using CentOS image. So that's the reason why my customized image The base image is CentOS, and I'm going to create my customized image as my CentOS. Docker file is available in the same location. I'm giving dot symbol, enter. Now you can see my CentOS image will be created. Docker build is the command we use for building the Docker file and creating your own customized image. If you want to see, you can run Docker images. My CentOS image is created. My CentOS image is created. But how to understand? How can we understand actually? How can we understand the date command? Okay, what is the use of CMD keyword? We have given the CMD keyword inside the Docker file. So when I run this one, okay, my CentOS is the image. My CentOS is the image. Try to understand this command also. I have my CentOS image. I'm going to run my CentOS image. You know what will happen if I run an image? It will become a container. And I'm going to connect with the container. -it option is always used to connect with the container directly. So Docker run the image name. Docker run the image name. This command is used to create a container. -it option is used for interactive terminal. I'm going to connect with the container. You see here, when I'm connecting with the container, when I'm trying to connect, when I'm running the container, okay, when I'm running the container, you see the first command, when I'm running the container and when I'm trying to connect with the container, the very first thing that it is printing is what? The very first thing that it is printing is date. So date command at the CMD level in the Docker file also you can see at the CMD level we have provided date command. What is the purpose of date command? We are giving this date. We are giving this, okay. We just wanted to print the date or once the container is started. The very first command that should be the very first thing that should be printed or should get once the container is started. That's what I'm saying. So when the CMD keyword will be useful, you can understand from here. CMD keyword is mainly for specifying the initial command. You can specify the initial command that should be executed once the container is started. I am specifying CMD keyword inside the Docker file. But when can we see the output of the CMD? Only when the container is started. Only when the container is started, that time only we can see the output of CMD. Meaning, once the container is started, the very first thing that we should see is, we can see is the output of the CMD keyword. Okay, the output of the CMD keyword. So like that, we have many keywords inside the Docker file. We'll understand some other examples so that you will be clear. And uh, I'm going to use this Docker file from maintainer. Okay, let me show. Vi space. Again, I'm going to edit the same Docker file only. I'm going to edit the same Docker file. I'm going to remove the existing contents. I'm going to remove the existing contents and I'm going to provide this one. So you can see here 4 lines. One is from keyword, maintainer keyword, CMD, again CMD. So to multiple CMD instructions I am providing. Try to understand. This is also a Docker file where we are using from keyword. We know the purpose, base image for specifying the base image. Maintainer, providing the author name or organization name. CMD, the very first message that should be printed. The very first thing that should be printed once the container is started. And here I have provided multiple CMD instructions. This is the first CMD and this is the second CMD. So now what happens? If I provide multiple CMD instructions, even though you provide multiple CMD instructions or multiple CMD keywords inside the Docker file, the latest CMD only will get executed. All the other CMD will be ignored. If you use some 100 CMD instructions inside the Docker file, only the latest CMD will be executed. All the others will be ignored. Let's see this example. You will understand. Escape, :WQ. I'm saving this file. I'm going to build this one with the help of, okay, I'm just giving a name, different name called my CentOS 1. My CentOS 1. Let's see. A new image will be created. Once the new image is created, if I want to connect with that, what I will do, I'll run this one. Docker run -it, my CentOS one. I'm trying to connect with the new image. So actually, new image in the sense this is a new image only. But if I use Docker run command, it will become a container. I'm not providing any name to the container, but that is optional thing. -it, I'm trying to connect to the container. When I'm trying to connect to the container, you see, this is the first thing that it is printing. What is this? Why it is displaying all the list of files and folders? This is the detailed information about the list of files and folders. Why it is displaying? Because we are giving, this is the output of ls-la command. Can you see ls command -la? Inside the CMD keyword, I am providing ls-la. Inside the CMD keyword, I am providing ls-la, meaning, what is the meaning here? ls stands for providing the list of files. Okay, ls is the Linux command which is used to specify the list of files. -l means long list. -l means long list, meaning it will provide the detailed specification. What are the file permissions? When did the file is created? Everything will be printed. Everything will be shown. Okay, you see here all the file permissions. Everything will be printed about each and every file and each and every directory. And we are giving -a also, ls-a. See, ls-la will display all the files, all the regular files as well as hidden files. Here you see many files are starting with dot. Many file names are starting with dot. So if the file name is starting with dot, we know that is a hidden file. If any file or if any directory is starting with the dot symbol, it should be considered as a hidden file or a hidden directory. So ls-la command will gives us the output of all the files and all the hidden files that are starting with dot symbol. Everything will be shown. In the same way, whatever the Docker file that we have written, you can see the Docker file. What is the Docker file you have written? Cat space Docker file. If you want to see the contents present in the Docker file, this is the content. This is the content present in the Docker file. From keyword, maintainer keyword, CMD, two multiple CMD instructions you have used. What I told, even though we use multiple CMD instructions, the latest CMD will be executed and all other CMDs will be ignored. This is one point we should understand. Okay, we should understand what is the purpose of CMD. CMD is used to, CMD keyword is used in the Docker file. Whenever we want to execute something, once the container is started, that time, okay, we can keep that one inside the CMD keyword. But even though we use multiple CMD keywords, only the latest CMD will be executed and others will be ignored. This is one point we need to understand from CMD. And let's move to the another example. We are going to understand the other examples like we have another keyword called run keyword, run. So run keyword is used to install some packages. Okay, run keyword is used to install some packages. Let's see here. Let me show you what is the use of run keyword. Run is used for running the Linux commands within the container. Run keyword is used for running Linux commands within the container. And it is also helpful for installing the software. If you want to install any packages or if you want to install, okay, run command, the run keyword. Okay, all these are the keywords. Run keyword is useful for running the Linux commands. At the same time, usually, why will run the Linux commands? We can run some Linux commands, and at the same time, if we want to install any packages also, we use the Linux commands. At that time also, it will be helpful. So let's take this example and view over there. I'm just copying this. Now try to understand. Here we are going to edit the existing Docker file only. I'm removing the existing Docker file and I'm going to have new contents inside the Docker file. You see, base image is open to now. Maintainer, okay. Run keyword. Two times I'm using the run keyword. The first run keyword, you can see here, the first run keyword. With the help of first run keyword, we are using apt-get update. We are updating the apt repository. With the help of first run keyword, we are updating the apt repository. With the help of second run keyword, we are installing the git package. Run apt-get install git, meaning we are going to install git package with the help of run keyword. With the help of run keyword, we are installing the git package. So from is the base image. We understood maintainer is the name of the author or organization. Run keyword is used to run some Linux commands. apt-get update is used to update the apt repository. This command. apt-get install-y git. This command is used to install the git package. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the Ubuntu image. Inside the Ubuntu image, I'm updating the apt repository and I'm updating the git package. This is what I'm doing inside the Docker file. So once I build the Docker file, what is the command to build the Docker file? So if I have the Docker file, I'll build the Docker file by running a command called docker build -t. And if the base image is Ubuntu, you can provide some name to your customized image like my Ubuntu. If my Ubuntu is already there, you can specify my Ubuntu 1 to something like that. And at the end, you need to present dot symbol because dot represents the Docker file location. So Docker file is available in the current location. That's the reason why I'm specifying dot. Dot always represents the Docker file. And you always need to save the Docker file with the help of dot symbol. You always need to save the Docker file by using Docker file only, with the name of Docker file only. You can see now I'm able to install the Git package. I'm updating the apt repository. So updating the apt repository is done. Now third step is going, it is done. The image is created. How to see the image is created or not? You can run a command called Docker images. So with the help of Docker images, I can able to see. With the help of Docker images, I can able to see here. Can you see, right? With the help of Docker images, I can able to see my Ubuntu 1. My Ubuntu 1 is the image that I have generated. I have built. This is the image I have built. So this is how we are going to build the Docker images from the Docker file. This is how we write a Docker file and we will create a Docker file. And let's see some other example. Okay. So usually we need to understand the difference between CMD keyword as well as the run keyword. CMD will run only when the container starts. If I use CMD keyword, CMD will run when the container starts. Run will be executed during the image creation process. Say run keyword is executed during the image creation process itself. When the CMD keyword will run, CMD will run only when the container is started. After image creation, and when we connect to the container, that time the CMD keyword, whatever the instruction that you have provided at CMD keyword, that will be executed. So try to understand the difference between CMD and run in the Docker file. So run is used for running the Linux commands. Run keyword in the Docker file is used for running the Linux commands or otherwise to install any of the packages inside the to install any of the Docker to install any of the softwares or packages. But CMD will be helpful to print something whenever the container is started. Once the container is started, if you want to print something or if you want to execute something, that time only CMD instruction will be CMD keyword. We should provide CMD for that purpose. So hope you understood the difference between CMD and run keyword. And let's see, when we come to the Docker file concept, okay, in the Docker file, usually there is some, we need to understand the concept of cache busting. Okay, we can call it as cache busting or cache busting, whatever it is. You can pronounce it in any way. But we need to understand what is cache busting. So let's understand. So this is a Docker file, okay? This is the Docker file I'm using. This is the Docker file. And the same Docker file I have executed earlier also. These are the 4 lines, you see. All the 4 lines I have already executed. What are the 4 lines I'm having? I can give cat command and I can see I'm already having the 4 lines Docker file. Now I am going to add one more line. You see, I am going to add one more line. I will edit this Docker file. Already 4 lines are there. I'm not disturbing the existing 4 lines. I'm going to add one more line. What is the line I'm adding is, the additional line that I'm adding is here, tree. I would like to install a tree package. I would like to install one more package called tree package. For that, I am adding one more command. Except that all the 4 lines were already there. I am just adding one more line. Escape, Shift:W. It is very important. Okay, try to understand. I did not make any changes in the Docker file, just added a new line in the existing Docker file. 4 lines were already there, and I just added a fifth line for installing the tree package. Now, since I have added fifth line, anyhow, I need to run build command, docker build -t. I would like to create a new image, my CentOS. I don't know what is the base image that I'm using over there. If I'm using the base image, let me show you. So here, if I'm using the base image called Ubuntu, I will give like my Ubuntu to something like that. Okay. I'll give my Ubuntu to something like that. Why? Because my Ubuntu one or my Ubuntu and my Ubuntu one were already there. That's the reason why I'm providing my Ubuntu 2. The docker build -t, my Ubuntu 2 dot symbol I'm providing. You see now an image will be created. An image will be created. And you see while creating the image, you will see some few things here. First step, anyhow, the base image. Okay, base image, it is already, it will be picking from the base image, it will pull from the public registry. That is fine. So first step is already done. Second step, you see, catched. It is saying like catch. No, it is not processing the second one. The second line is not processing. It is saying like catched. Third line is also not processing. You see the first 3 lines, it is not running again. Meaning, so in the Docker, if you have already executed any particular line, the same line is not going to be executed once again. If you have executed any particular line, the same line is not going to execute once again. Why? Because it will verify from the cache memory. Docker, before it executes this particular line, it will verify from the cache memory. If this line is already executed, it will simply say that cached. It has been already executed. What is the necessity? Why we need to waste the time and all? Yeah, it is done. It is already executed. And the third one also, you see, apt-get install -y git. This line is also executed. That's the reason why it is showing like cached. It is cached. What is the meaning of cached? So there is a cache memory concept. There is a memory called cache memory. So Docker, whenever executing any particular line, whenever it executes any particular line, so it will verify from the cache memory whether that line is already been executed or not. If that particular line is already been executed, it is not going to re-execute that particular line. That particular line will not be re-executed. It will be shown the status as cached. The status will be shown as cached. Yes. And even if you have any doubts, let's see. Again, I am editing the Docker file. Okay. I'm going to edit the Docker file. Again, I'm going to add one more line. You see. Again, I'm adding one more line. So now I'm adding a different thing. Okay. Not tree package. I would like to install a Maven package, something. Escape, Shift:/WQ, saving it. I would like to build this one with the help of an image called, I'm going to create a new image called my Ubuntu 3, Docker build, providing the name as image name as my Ubuntu 3, dot symbol represents my Docker file is at the current location only. I'm running this. While running this one, you can see the output. Only the fifth step is processing. Only the fifth step is processing. And you observe the remaining 4 steps. Anyway, the first step is not processing. The second step, it is showing like catched. Third line is saying as catched. Fourth line, even the fourth line is also saying as catched. Why it is saying as catched and why it is not running? Why this line is not being executed? That's what we need to understand. So once a line is executed, once you write a Docker file, and once that particular line is executed by the Docker, Docker won't re-execute that particular line. It is nothing but a time-saving mechanism. It is nothing but a time-saving mechanism. See, this particular line is already been executed. Again, if it has to execute, it needs if it takes some time. So to build the entire image, usually, definitely it will take some large amount of time. So that's the reason why it is a time-saving mechanism provided by the Docker. Before it run any particular line, it will verify from the cache memory. If it sees that this particular line has been already executed, it will print like cached. Similarly, the third line also, it also been executed earlier. That's why it is showing like cached. Fourth line is also executed. That's why it is showing like cached. Fifth line, just now I have added recently for installing Maven. Yes, that time it is going for downloading the Maven package and installing it. Downloading the Maven package and installing it. So what we need to understand is if any particular lines, if any lines were already been executed by the Docker, so those lines will not be re-executed. This is a time-saving mechanism provided by the Docker. Purely, this is a time-saving mechanism provided by the Docker. Okay, this is a time-saving mechanism provided by the Docker. But at the same time, there is also some drawback here. What is the drawback? Suppose if these lines were not executed, what happens? We are updating the APT repository. And this line, all these lines were executed some long time back, some 3 months back or some 4 months back. All these lines were executed. And anyhow, Docker is not going to re-execute all these things once again. There is a drawback also. What is the drawback? If I am running this, if I am using these lines for updating the repositories or for installing the packages, and if Docker is not going to rerun these particular lines, definitely we will end up with the old packages only. If Docker will not run this line, will not execute this line, I will end up with the old Git version. Old Git version. If Docker will not re-execute this particular tree package, we will be ending up with the oldest packages only. Now, some long time, like I will be using still the old tree package, the old version of the tree package. I will be installing the old version of the Git package like that. So, so if these lines were not, whatever the lines that are being executed earlier, if those lines were not being re-executed by the Docker, definitely we will end up with the old packages only. So the old Git package will be the old one. Okay. And APT update, if we are updating the APT repository, the APT repository will not be updated. So definitely we will be ending up with, we will be using only the old packages, old versions of the packages only. So that's the reason why it is necessary sometimes, okay, it is necessary to run those lines sometimes, okay, whenever we require. If we wanted to run these lines, we can run. So if we want to run those lines, definitely what we can do is, we can use like this, run apt-get update ampersand symbol. We will use ampersand symbol before that one, so that if the Docker sees ampersand symbol, it will re-execute that particular line once again. Now let's see here. What I'm doing is I'm going to edit this file. So far those lines were not being re-executed by the Docker. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to keep ampersand symbol, ampersand symbol. So if I keep ampersand, I'm removing, I'm giving insert button. Suppose, for example, okay, apt-get update. So apt-get update. Okay. So apt-get update, and I'm using ampersand symbol. I'm using ampersand symbol. Along with the ampersand symbol, I'm using apt-get install, apt-get install it -y. So now you see here, I am just adding this particular line. And before that line, I am using ampersand symbol. If we want any particular line to be re-executed once again, every time, okay? If you want any particular line to be re-executed every time, we just need to keep ampersand symbol before that line. So the Docker understand that this line needs to be executed every time. So now I am going to build this image. Now you see the status and I'm running this. Usually the second step is running. Okay. apt-get install git package. The git package is again downloading the latest one. It is installing. This particular line, second line is running. First line is saying like catched. The second line is running. Why? Because we are using ampersand symbol. If I use ampersand symbol, so that particular line will be re-executed by the Docker so that we can avoid the drawback. What is the drawback? If the Docker doesn't execute these lines, so we will end up with the old versions of the packages. So that should not happen. So if we want every time the packages should be updated, we will use ampersand symbol. So this is called catch busting mechanism. What is catch busting? So every time it is saying like it is catched and I'm not going to run that particular line. Docker is saying that it is catched. The line has already been executed and I am not going to run this particular line. So now what we are doing, we are busting the catch. So this concept is called catch busting, meaning, so by using ampersand symbol, by using ampersand symbol, Docker understands that if I use Docker ampersand, Docker understands that this particular line needs to be executed so that we can avoid the drawback. So this is called catch busting. It will not show that the line is catched. It will run the line. It will re-execute the line. If you want the Docker to re-execute your line, use ampersand symbol to avoid the catch mechanism. Okay. This is called catch busting. So this is what I would like to discuss today. We'll discuss the rest of the things in the next session. Thank you.